Alright. Hey everybody. So, we are going to embark on a bit of a fun adventure doing Tadpole Comparative Ontogeny, which I will introduce in just a moment. We're going to be following the development of tadpoles throughout their metamorphosis, and we're going to be comparing multiple species. So, this is going to be a fun activity for us. I'm hoping that we get to do some part of it in person, but we're going to start it virtually here. Um, and so this is day one. So let's begin. Alright, so ontogeny is the study of how an organism changes physically, physiologically, metabolically, and chemically throughout its lifespan and development. So this means that there are going to be changes in size, there are going to be changes in different gene expression, there'll be changes in body parts and their relative size and their presence on the organism. There will be changes in chemicals produced by the organism. There will be changes in that organism's reactions to various things. For example, in humans, reflexes that you have as a baby are not necessarily carried over to adulthood. There will be differences in the ability of the organism to utilize different food resources. For example, most adult mammals are lactose intolerant, and it's a number of different things that change about the organism. It can be simple, such as the size and color, and it can be very complex, such as gene expression that controls development, and it occurs throughout the organism's life. When we talk about comparative ontogeny, we're talking about comparative in terms of we're looking at multiple species. So our project here is going to be comparative tadpole ontogeny, where we're going to use tadpoles that are the same age but from two different species and see how the development of these tadpoles differs from day to day between the two species. So our two species are one, the wood frog, Lithobates sylvaticus. It's a North American native frog that's very common. It is in the family Ranidae, the true frog family. They're medium-sized frogs, getting about 3 inches long. They are obligate ephemeral pool breeders. They can only breed in bodies of water that dry up for part of the year. And they breed very early on, usually as soon as the ground thaws. Depending on where you are, that could be January if you're in the south, and that could be May if you're in Canada. And then we have the spring peeper, Pseudacris crucifer. This is in the Hylidae or tree frog family. They're tiny, they're an inch long at the most. They will breed in both permanent and temporary bodies of water. This is an important distinction. And they also breed in the early spring all the way through the beginning of summer. Alright, so now that I've introduced everything, there are a few disclaimers that I want to put out here right now. First of all, you may have noticed in my videos where I have the frogs that we collected the eggs from released in different areas. And the reason why is because I caught them in different areas. You always want to return frogs and other creatures back to where you found them if you are just catching and releasing. Especially with amphibians, and it's very important that you're careful. What you didn't see behind the scenes was that any gear that I used to go travel to the site, wade in the water, catch something, all of those things were cleaned with 10% bleach for at least 10 minutes between sites. And the reason for this is because there is a potential for pathogens and parasites and other things to jump from site to site by people going from site to site without properly sanitizing equipment. And the same thing is you don't want to release a frog somewhere where it's not naturally living, because it could be carrying some kind of pathogen or parasite that could affect a population that may not be exposed to that particular pathogen or parasite. So it's always a good practice to make sure that you're returning things back where you got them. Obviously, it doesn't have to be the exact spot. It can be, 50 feet away and you're fine. But, if there are two sites where you're catching things from and they're more than like a mile apart, you really should put them back where you got them instead of just releasing them anywhere. This will protect populations. You want to make sure that all of your gear isn't jumping between species, and you're bleaching things between sites to kill off any potential pathogens, parasites, and other nasties that you don't want getting from point A to point B. So this project is not just me willy-nilly running into a pond and grabbing frogs. This is carefully thought out to prevent causing damage to the local ecosystems. This, you know, catch and release, rear and releases for educational purposes. The baby frogs will be returned to their native habitats once they're developed, so that we are not causing major problems for the ecosystem. And this is an important thing to consider if you're going to do this project on your own, to make sure you're doing it in a way that is safe for the environment.
All right. Day 1, Tadpole Comparative Ontogeny. So we're going to start with the wood frog, Lithobate sylvaticus. So the parents are going to be released back into the wild where they belong. The lighter brown ones are the females, the darker brown ones are the males. You can see they lay this big egg mass. It's a clump that is loaded with eggs. The eggs are large. Right now they're all darkened. A few eggs fell out of it, but that's alright. You can see that they have the white bottom, which is the yolk, and then the brown part is the cellular layer. And what will happen over time is that cellular layer will consume the yolk, and the entire outside of the egg shell, or the embryo inside the egg, will be a grayish black color. In contrast, we have the spring peepers, who lay their eggs individually or in very small clumps all over the place. So here we have the spring peeper parents. They will also be released back into the wild. And you can see with these eggs, hang on, little peeper, you gotta stay in the water. Is this one of our males or females? This is one of the fathers, or one of the males. Go in the water for a sec. You can see that the eggs have the white yolk on the one side and then the dark brown cell layer on the other side. So we're here where I got the peepers from, and we're going to release them back into the wild where they belong. Alright, you guys, there goes one. We don't want them to get hurt. I'm going to go a little bit closer to the water. Get these guys back out in nature where they belong. Alright, you two. There they go. Go back to the water. There we go. And they're off. Emmy! Car. It's the Emmy. Hi, girl. All right. We're gonna now release the adult wood frogs. So, I got the adult wood frogs from this area, and so we're going to release them back where we got them from. This is an ephemeral pool where wood frogs, spring peepers, gray tree frogs, and sometimes pickerel frogs breed in. And so let me just open up my container. We're going to let these guys go. We're going to get over to the edge of the water and just gently dump them out. Alright, guys. See y'all later. Ooh, they really made a defensive secretion. You'll be okay. Go on. Bye-bye. Have a nice life.